Hi and welcome to the third part of my spotlight on Alan Ayckbourn's play A Chorus of Disapproval. I'm the playwright's archivist Simon Murgatroyd, and here I'll be looking at its less than successful transition from stage to screen. In 1984, Alan premiered A Chorus of Disapproval at the Stephen Joseph's Theatre in the Round, Scarborough. It was a play conceived with a transfer to the National Theatre in mind and was, at this point, the largest play he had written. In correspondence, soon after he had finished writing it, Alan made a fascinating observation about the play. I'm quite pleased with the result, and I think, whatever else, it satisfies my determination to remain to some degree theatrically exciting. The stage plays of mine that seem to me most successful are the ones that really couldn't be done as well in another medium, whether it's TV or film. It's quite an ironic statement in hindsight. It's noteworthy that despite a professed and lifelong love of film, Alan has shown little interest in working in film or television and has only written one produced screenplay during his long career. He also has a strong conviction his plays do not adapt well into other mediums, which, given the varying quality of the screen adaptations of his work, is a fair point. It's also worth emphasising Alan writes purely for the stage. The pitfalls of adapting Alan's plays to film are exemplified by A Chorus of Disapproval. Directed by the late Michael Winner and released in 1989, it is considered a huge failure by the playwright, as it neither captures the spirit, tone nor intention of the original play, emerging instead as little more than a contrived English sex comedy, which is not something that could really ever be said of the original play. Michael Winner's interest in working with Alan can be traced back to 1974, when he saw Absurd Person Singular in London. He wrote to Alan expressing delight at the play and suggesting the pair should work together. He said, "I really thought the writing was exceptional. It makes me very keen indeed to see if we could not find some film venture that we could work on in a manner that suits you." Alan's response indicated he did not believe there would be so much hope for a project together. I think of myself primarily as a theatre writer. Theatre does, at present and hopefully always will, provide me with the mainspring for my work. I tend to regard film or even TV with a certain apprehension, probably because although I enjoy both as a spectator, my best and practically my only ideas seem to revolve around essentially theatrical notions. Winner began his career in the early 60s directing films such as West 11 and The System, which were rooted in working class Britain. It was only after the success of the World War II comedy Hannibal Brooks that he was lured to Hollywood and the less cerebral form of filmmaking he became associated with. He became well known for violent action vehicles such as Scorpio and the Death Wish series, directing more than 30 films over 4 decades. Winner saw A Chorus of Disapproval at the National Theatre in 1985 and immediately and persistently expressed interest in adapting it for film. This led to the film rights being sold to Winner for $100,000, apparently financed by Winner himself, all with certain provisos, such as Alan having casting approval. Alan's agent, Margaret Peggy Ramsey, claimed Winner had a bargain, with his enthusiasm sealing the deal. Alan was less certain, and he wrote to Peggy confirming his own lack of enthusiasm, noting, "It could be okay as a movie." Contracts were signed on 28th of May 1986 and Winner immediately began work on the script. He hoped Alan might adapt it, but he declined and Winner turned to the playwright Nick Dark instead. Dark's initial thoughts on the play had a suitably depressing effect on Alan, and he sent 3 pages of detailed notes to Winner saying the play, in his mind, best resembled Gogol's play The Government Inspector. He also gave a blow-by-blow account of what the play was and wasn't about, emphasising it wasn't a sex-driven farce. the letter ended with an essential question. Most important, and I really should have asked you this first, why did you want to film it anyway? What's a film going to do to improve it or add to it that 64 more stage productions wouldn't? Winner's response was conciliatory, if non-committal, suggesting he wanted to make that play into a film with as little change as possible. But he effectively negated this by also saying, change there has to be because in order to get down to film length there has to be shortening, and in order to get down to film style there has to be more scenes. Alan declined another request to write the screenplay, and by August it was confirmed Winner would write the final screenplay himself, which Alan believed was probably for the best. I do think it's better that you do it anyway. Yours, after all, was the initial enthusiasm, and most other screenwriters are going to approach it by trying to justify it as a film by improving the original. Winner's first draft is dated the 11th of September 1986, and Alan was immediately concerned at how the relationships had been changed. In the play, Guy has affairs with two married women. The first with Hannah is purely platonic, the second with Faye, purely sexual. In the script, both relationships were sexual, with Alan noting that all these suggestions of bed scenes seem strangely at odds with their, Guy and Hannah's, relationship as I see it. I think the whole point about it is they don't ever get down to it. Winner's response is interesting, as it clearly shows they were not on the same page. He insisted Alan's thoughts were absolutely at odds with what he had perceived Alan had written. He explained at length why Guy and Hannah's relationship was sexual and asked Alan to add a scene where they had sex. Alan refused, of course, increasingly at odds with Winner. 2 months later, in late 1986, Alan spoke to Peggy, admitting he had huge regrets about the film, and wrote, "I really wish I'd been strong enough to say no in the first place." The news was broken to Winner that Alan had no desire to have any further substantive involvement in the film. We don't have Winner's response to this, but there is a year hiatus before he announced the intention that filming would begin in spring 1988. Winner visited Scarborough in December 1987 to scout filming locations, with Alan giving him a short tour of his hometown. Winner used the opportunity to argue a case for substantially cutting the play script, but there was no chance Alan would ever agree to this, given his voracious previous opposition to the cutting of his plays for TV and radio. By January 1988, Anthony Hopkins and Jeremy Irons had been signed for the film, soon to be followed what even Alan agreed was a good cast, which included Richard Briers, Barbara Ferris, Gareth Hunt, Patsy Kensit, Prunella Scales and Jenny Seagrove. Winner also asked how the film should be credited, with the belief that Alan's name should go before his own and above the title. Alan's response is unknown, but it's interesting to note the poster for the original film release does not mention Alan's name prominently, nor above the title. The movie was officially announced in February 1988, and Winner made it clear this was a low-budget movie which was relying on goodwill. "I'm doing this for nothing, and all the actors and actresses are taking much less than their normal money," he said. Winner, perversely, implied the chances of success were iffy, and Alan Ayckbourn's plays are not natural box office subjects for film. Something which is very good in one medium, like the stage, is not necessarily good for another, like the cinema. Perhaps the question should have been asked, why then was he filming it? After 2 years of pre-production, filming eventually began on 11th of April 1988 and was scheduled for 6 weeks, with 15 weeks for post-production and a budget of £1.5 million. Alan turned up early in filming to meet the cast and spent a day making alterations to Winner's script, most of which Winner apparently ignored. Alan then jetted off on holiday to the Virgin Islands, absenting himself from Scarborough for most of the shoot, later making it abundantly clear this was no coincidence, as he wanted no involvement with the film. Renowned for the speed of his shooting and for bringing all his movies in on time and on budget, Winner and his cinematographer Alan Jones on one day managed 53 setups, breaking Winner's previous record of 52. Shooting wrapped on time, and Winner immediately began to edit the film under the pseudonym of Arnold Crust. In late June, Alan was shown a rough cut, of which he felt Anthony Hopkins was portrayed far too malevolently. After seeing a second rough edit, though, he began to express disquiet with Winner's version, wondering whether films can say what my plays say, given the way that my plays try to say them. Perhaps more damning is what he believed had been lost from the play, both specifically and generally, including one of the play's most famous scenes where David Ap-Llewellyn rages against the treatment of the arts in the UK. He wrote that Winner appeared to have lost everything in the play, except for the sex. The film, with the screenplay now credited to Alan and Winner, premiered in New York in August 1989. As the date approached, Alan agreed to several interviews, which led to Winner accusing him of knocking the film badly. Alan responded by writing, "I said it wasn't as good as the play, but then, as Miss Rice Davis put it, I would say that, wouldn't I? Otherwise, I've been wasting the last 30 years of my life." Soon afterwards, Alan wrote to Winner saying he would not be attending the raw premiere of the movie, whilst expressing regret that he agreed to the movie in the first place, saying, "I know this may be construed as indirectly knocking the film, which I don't intend to be at all, but the fact is that I'm not happy with the result." A Chorus of Disapproval premiered in New York, and the reaction was not positive, with the New York Times critic Vincent Canby being particularly vitriolic. A Chorus of Disapproval is virtually a textbook demonstration of how to take a good, very theatrical comedy and transform it into a laughless movie mess without junking the funny lines, characters and situations. Mr. Winner is a man of few doubts. He stands by his mistakes and, whenever possible, he repeats them. The movie failed to chart in America and took a total of just over $200,000. It's hard to offer a comparison, but the most obvious is the release of Shirley Valentine 2 months later. Based on Willie Russell's play, this grossed more than $6 million in America alone. A Chorus of Disapproval had a royal premiere in the UK on 19th of October 1989, attended by the Duchess of York. Alan did not attend, but did go to the regional premiere of the film at the Royal Opera House in Scarborough, where some of the filming had taken place. Reviews were mixed, to say the least, and although Winner later asserted critics on the whole loved the movie, this patently wasn't the case. Reviewers were largely taken by the cast, but felt the movie itself was deeply flawed, particularly those who had experience seeing the original play. The response that mattered most, though, was ignored by Winner, as Alan made no secret of his dislike of the film. This was typified by an interview with the BBC in 2014, when he said he thoroughly hated the film and that Winner handled the material with all the delicacy of Mike Tyson. With hindsight, one has to ask, why did Alan agree to Winner filming A Chorus of Disapproval, given he had the intuition so early in the process that it would not be a happy experience? The answer can be found in the Ayckbourn archive at the Borthwick Institute for Archives, where, in 1996, Alan talks about agreeing, largely because of his agent, Peggy. My then agent, Margaret Ramsey, who is sadly now dead and who was probably the last of the great theatrical literary agents, a woman I greatly admired and who did a tremendous amount for my career, thought the time had come for me to explore the world of film. She felt I could learn a lot about the brass tacks of filmmaking working alongside Michael Winner. His enthusiasm and apparent commitment to the project can be misleading. I learnt early on that the best approach was to stay well clear. As the first film of an Ayckbourn play, A Chorus of Disapproval is always going to be of interest, but it is hard to judge it favourably if viewed in light of the original play. One has to ask, does the movie reflect and do justice to the play? Perhaps the best guide is how much of Alan's original play script survives. You can get an impression from the running time. The film runs for 99 minutes, the play for 140 minutes. But this doesn't reveal the true picture because Winner added some of his own material to the screenplay. Just how little of Alan's original script survived intact was revealed when Winner told him, "What we've probably done is cut about half of the original and then added." It's fair to say that cutting half of any play script is going to have a substantive impact on the material. The plot may practically follow the same route, or at least head in the same general direction, but removing that much material can leave nothing but superficialities. It is not realistic to expect it can in any way accurately reflect Alan's original intentions for the play. Alan once said the film was not his play, but Michael Winner's view of his play, which is fair comment. There's very little persuasive argument, particularly after viewing the film, that it is in any way truly representative of Alan Ayckbourn's play. I hope you've enjoyed my spotlights on A Chorus of Disapproval, and if this spotlight has made you interested in watching the film, can I suggest you try and find a theatre staging the play instead? Thanks for supporting my videos and podcasts.